Hi, how you doing? My name is Jose David, marriage counselor, and today we're gonna be talking about the book Stop Divorce, Dead in Its Tracks, chapter 13, which is how to communicate more effectively. A lot of couples, and if statistics are to be thrown around, a lot of couples talk about communication being the number one factor for either staying together or being in crisis or getting a divorce. And communication has a wide array of issues that has, that compounds the problem a lot of times. So, it could be that, communication or lack thereof feels like being rejected, or it feels like there's other priorities and you are not the priority of the relationship. So hopefully this will help you, these strategies that we're going to talk about and these differences, so you're well aware, and you might be aware of them, but you still might want change from your spouse or partner. And I invite you to really think about some of the differences that we have in our relationships that do not have to necessarily be something that is going against you. It's the better you understand it, the easier it's going to be for you to be successful in a relationship and then have good communication. Okay, so I'm going to start with first we're going to talk about women in general. Okay, and if this does not apply to you, it doesn't mean that it applies to most women. Okay, but and some things applies to most men, and sometimes they don't. But in general, women are more emotional when they communicate. Okay, they might be talking about what they're thinking, but they're more likely saying what they're thinking, but the way they're expressing their emotions has a lot to do with how they're feeling. So a lot of times they might come across as saying something very simple, but there's a lot of emotion around it or behind it that is not being transmitted through words. And because that's how most women communicate. And so you as a male have to take that into account when you're in a relationship, because a lot of times that's when little by little, after the honeymoon phase, where everything's perfect and your spouse or partner can't do no wrong, then you start to see little things that you dislike or things that you don't really agree with, or a certain temper that starts to come out. And a lot of times it's because we miss a lot of the emotional cues that our female partners are giving us. Okay, if you ask them if they want to do something and they say yes, but their face and their body language says no, or more than likely they're considering doing it because you're asking, but they're not completely comfortable because they're letting you know what hurt their emotions. So you need to be aware of that. And the more you're able to read through this, the more you're gonna be able to have better communication. If you ask more questions, like I say, like for example, I know you're saying yes, but your body language and your emotions that are coming through are telling me that you're not too sure, that you're not really happy about doing this. So why don't we just talk about it? As a male. And as a female, if you're saying yes, but your emotions are telling you no, or your attitude is not good about it, well, be more specific. Tell them, yes, I would consider doing it, even though I don't feel too good about it. That would, with males, you got to be very specific, because then I'm going to talk about males. Males are more thought oriented. They think about things and they want specific directions. Everything has to be specific, because if you give them a blank statement of something that you as a female expect them to do, it can happen today or tomorrow if you don't set a timeline, And that is usually what aggravates relationships. Well, he should know, if I ask him to do this, why didn't he do it? And he might have thought about doing it, later on, or when he got to it, or it wasn't one of his priorities, so he left it for later, whatever the reason is. But if you don't give a timeline, or you don't ask, or you're not as specific, you're just compounding the problem. So women have to be more blunt, more open, and more honest. A lot of ladies would like their husbands to read their minds, or he should know me by now. I hear that in session all the time. But the reality is they don't. They're going literally by what you're saying, and not about how your body language or your feelings are coming true. And so, another big issue that we encounter in session is when, a lot of times when women are having a hard time or trouble in their life, they need to process things through talking. They want to talk about their problems. They want to go into details about how they think and why they feel the way they feel. And a lot of times as husbands or partners, we don't do a good job of listening to them, and and we just want to offer solutions. And that's not always what our spouses want from us. They want us to listen, to hear them out. They might already have a solution. They don't want sometimes you to fix the problem. They just want to be heard. So that's a big misconception of why communication is sometimes so hard in a relationship, because we can take things for granted. Another big issue is males, when they're having issues, a lot of times they like to retreat. They like to be by themselves. And that a lot of times is used against them. And it's just part of how they process things. Instead of talking about things and problems out loud, they either they internalize. They take the problem inside. They think about it. Sometimes they overthink it. Correct, but that's how they process their problems. And so a lot of times in marriage, there's a lot of pointing fingers at each other. Oh, well, he doesn't want to talk about it, and I want to talk about it, but he doesn't want to listen to me. And there's always this unwritten rules that we are always being so negative about, when we need to understand that there are some basic differences between us, and we need to take them into account if we're in a relationship. Thank you very much.